All right, hello. We are back with the Great Villain Podcast. I am Justin. Here's my co-host DJ.
Here, back again.
And we are going to talk about our 2022 Seattle Mariners. This is a bit of a mid-season review. We've sort of, we've been on a hiatus for a while, but we still are keeping up with our team. Our 40-42 Mariners right now, just one game past the mid-season, quickly approaching the AllStar break, the trade deadline. Where is this team? 40-42. 2 games under 500. Where are we, DJ?
They are probably better than their record would indicate. Been so injured the first half of the year, not having Mitch Haniger, not having Kyle Lewis. When we had Kyle Lewis, he was, he hit like 3 home runs in like 5 games, and then they hit him in the head. And he's
4
been out.
games and 2 dingers, I think it was.
And
3 dingers if you count the one in the head.
We like getting hit in the head. Justin Upton got hit in the head, too.
Yeah, fuck the Angels.
We're fine. We're kind of riding it a little bit with Chris Flexen, because Chris Flexen isn't as good as he is being pitching to. There is no reason why the San Diego Padres should strike out 8 times against Chris Flexen. And Chris Flexen should not be holding anybody scoreless over basically 7 innings.
Flexy's good, man. I like Flexy.
Flexen is good. Is he better than Marco?
No, they're both back-end guys. But, the San Diego team is not all that scary without Tatis in it.
Tatis is a game changer. It's kind of like, the Mariners when they don't have Haniger. Haniger is so undervalued in the game just because he's gotten freak injuries, but he is very good. He's better than most people think.
Well, we're missing him, and we're going to see what happens when we get him back.
Look what happened when we went through May, right?
Yeah.
We went bad in May when he was first injured.
What were your expectations coming into this offseason? Because we had, the last recording we did, I think, was our expectations going into the offseason and what we were hoping to get in free agency, the holes that we were trying to fix on the team. Well, did we fix those holes? What were your expectations coming into this season? And have we met them, or how have we come up short?
I think for the most part, you have met those expectations. Robbie Ray got off to a little bit of a slow start, but you've seen the Robbie Ray the last 5 starts, right? Robbie Ray of the Blue Jays come back the last 5 starts. A lot of people say it's because he started throwing a 2-seam and mixing that in, but this is what you paid Robbie Ray for. Someone to lead the front of the rotation, to be the horse, to show Gilbert and Kirby how to do it. You got to have the horse at the top. So
he's going out there throwing big innings, lots of innings. He's already over 100, I think.
He's got to be averaging close to 7.
And
he rarely comes out. It's like 6 1/3, 6 2/3.
It's really rare nowadays where you see a starting pitcher go regularly into the 6th, 7th inning, and that's exactly what Robbie Ray's been doing all season long.
And it's not like
actually a really nice revelation.
It's not like they're pushing his pitches, right? He's not out there throwing 120 pitches to get through the 6 innings.
No, he's for being a strikeout guy with high walk totals, he's actually been really efficient. Strangely efficient.
A lot of the times, you look up in the 5th, 6th inning, and he's like at 80 pitches, and they're like, wow, he strikes out people.
Just let him keep going.
He doesn't get a lot of foul balls.
He
doesn't get pitches wasted a ton, where you see some pitchers that might not have as much swing and miss. They get a lot of foul balls sometimes. Like last night, Ryan Baraki struggled because he couldn't put a guy away, and it was just pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. He had no out pitch, whereas Robbie Ray can go to something and put him away.
Yeah. I guess that's the difference. Well, it's a nice thing between like a Marco and a Flexen, guys who typically don't have out pitches, but it can get you to induce bad contact, where Baraki is kind of in the middle, where he doesn't really have much of an out pitch, and he can't put someone away, so you're just sitting there like, all right, dude, either swing and miss or put it in play. I don't care which. Yeah. Just do something besides ride a pitch count. So you think we're about at the expectations where you thought we would be?
I would have
40
said
and 42.
I would have said that our record would have been better at this point, but we've been so injured. Everybody kind of thought we'd get Kyle Lewis back a little bit before we actually got him back. Mm-hmm. Haniger's been injured. Now France goes down. Yeah. when I just finished going on this Mariners road trip, and it was amazing how many runners we leave on base.
Yeah.
There was a game, I think it was against the A's. We won like 4-1 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But we had 21 base runners.
Yeah.
21. Who gets 21 base runners and gets 4 runs?
Well, I'll tell you who. The team that walks a ton, but also can't hit. And that's really kind of the problem with taking a bunch of walks is like, well, okay, great. You're standing on first base now. That's something I think I've brought up in a previous podcast that we've done. Walks don't drive in runs, and they're nice, but they're like the worst good thing that could happen. You got to hit, and you can't have a lineup populated with a bunch of guys that are hitting in the below the Mendoza line, which is something that we have.
I would say for the most part, our acquisitions have played to what they were. Suarez has been excellent. His defense has been stellar.
Suarez and Winker are one thing. What about Frazier? Because
Frazier has been a total swing and miss on that one.
Suarez and Winker were legit players, and they had.
The question is though,
Frazier
is
was always
you take a chance on Frazier, or do you overpay for Simeon? And look what Simeon's done. Simeon's picked it up a little bit here. But him and Seager have struggled in Texas.
Yeah, well,
and those are big contracts.
Yeah, my big thing was to go get Simeon. That's the Simeon, Buxton, and a pitcher, and we did none of those things. But
damn it, Dipoto.
Yeah, a little review of the offseason. There were a lot of players out there that a lot of folks wanted. I didn't really want any of them outside of Simeon. I really didn't want guys. I didn't think we were going to get Correa, so I didn't really pin my hopes on it. I wanted Buxton because
you weren't getting Seager.
And yeah, you weren't getting Seager. I didn't want Baez. I didn't like Chris Bryant that much. And so then all these guys go and get big contracts. Trevor Story, people started getting desperate towards the end. They're like, oh my God, we have to get someone. And then we ended up getting none of them. And none of them have really come through that well. Correa's come through for Minnesota. But yeah, I didn't really want Simeon all that much. And then think about it, you have to outbid Texas to make that work. And
I don't think Texas was getting outbid.
Well, Texas didn't seem like it wanted to, but also, do you really want to go bigger than, what did you get, 8 years? And
7 at 25, whatever.
175?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to do bigger than that for a 32-year-old guy, and you have to get immediate returns, and Simeon...
If anything with Simeon, I would have wanted to go shorter years and higher AAV.
Yeah.
I'd have no problems going to 175, but I want to do that over like 5 years.
Yeah, sure. And, you would still be stuck with what he's giving you this year, which is better than Adam Frazier. So
he's at least giving you some pop, whereas
Adam
Frazier's almost been relegated to the bench recently.
Well, Adam Frazier should have... Yeah, okay, he was an AllStar because he played for the Pirates. Every team has to have one. So, was Adam Frazier any good? No, I think we compared him to J.P. Crawford. He's pretty much a J.P. Crawford clone. And, yeah, though Crawford started out much better this year, I guess I'd put Crawford as a full grade better than Frazier, but they're similar.
They're similar.
Not a lot of power in either of their bats, and just hit a bunch of singles, and you're seeing the difference. So when it goes bad, Adam Frazier. When it goes good, J.P. Crawford. So, yeah. For me, I didn't actually like where the Mariners were going this offseason. I thought they were going to be really terrible.
You were very disappointed in them. I remember having these phone conversations.
Oh, yeah. I put Texas ahead of them. Before the Winker-Suarez trade, I was saying they are crap. They're going to be so bad. Then the Winker-Suarez trade happened, and I felt a lot better about their off-season. I still didn't think they were really all going to be all super competitive. The fact that we're 40-42, yeah, that's really good. I think we could be better. If we had a healthy team, we would be in much better shape. Yeah, so my expectations weren't all that high. Though, are we reaching my expectations or exceeding them? We're like on the fringe of...
I was going to say, for where you had them, They are probably exceeding.
Yeah, they're right there because after the Winker Suarez trade, it changed my recalibrate a little bit, and so okay, they're 500, a little better than that, and so yeah, they're about 500, and they should be a little better than that, given injury, fix the injuries, and so now that we're here though, where are we going, and where do we want to go, and how do we get there?
Well, we want to go to the playoffs. That's for sure.
Yeah.
How do we get there? I don't know if getting there is much about acquiring talent outside the organization as it is just getting healthy. I mean, you start looking at these position players, right? So Lewis and Haniger and France come back. So you just got Santana, so he stays. Upton probably goes away.
Yeah,
Upton's not doing anything anyways, so...
Upton was cooked before we got him. He's really just a Band-Aid. Thank you for the walk-off, or the game-tying dinger.
I found it funny, though, that before he played his first game in the outfield, the last time, which was sometime on the road trip, he hadn't played the outfield since 2013.
Upton?
Upton. Last played the outfield before this year was 2013.
Yeah, I guess he was DH only for the Angels. Yeah. Well,
and the fact that nobody hit the ball to him, I was like, wow, he should be hitting the ball, try to hit the ball towards him because he ain't got no speed, no range.
Yeah, they should probably, yeah.
But, yeah, I was like, wow, they showed it on TV. Hadn't played right field since 2013.
Oh, well, right field, no, I think he had played left field.
Maybe that's a little deceiving. I just saw it on TV the same.
Yeah.
He hadn't played right field since 2013.
Yeah. I'm sure he had played left, because I'm pretty sure I'd seen him out there at some point. He's been around a long time. I don't know. I mean, the problem with the Mariners right now is that folks have been complaining about lack of depth. And I guess, I don't know. So you can't have...
Depth is overrated. It's an overstated thing. Because you can't... Unless you're the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Mets and you want to have like this super high mega payroll, even them, they still run into depth problems. I mean, what are you going to do when you lose Lewis, Haniger, France, and then now you've got these suspensions, which the dumb part is they can't even replace them on the roster, so you're playing a man short for a week.
Well, the thing about depth is that you can only have so many major leaguers. And unless you have major leaguers who are sitting in your minor leagues, like prospects, you can't have an Adam Frazier level major leaguer sitting in AAA just waiting for the call. Instead, you get guys like Justin Upton or you get the Carlos Santanas. Like, you just don't have these guys hanging around not on major league rosters. There's not enough major leaguers to go around. That's kind of just how it works. And not every team has a full slate of major leaguers. They are, by definition, in the same way that, you have a starting quarterback or something, but you would be like, yeah, he's not a starter. He's just a backup that happens to be the guy starting for our Seahawks this year. And that's kind of what's going to happen. And so you just don't have enough. There aren't enough real major leaguers and guys coming up and establishing themselves and being there. So, yeah, do we not have enough depth? No team has enough depth. You just have to manage through the injuries. What's happened is that we had a rash of injuries at the same position group. So, like, we lose Haniger, okay, you would normally go, all right, well, we'll just replace him with Kyle Lewis. Oh, well, we lose Kyle Lewis. Okay, we'll replace him with Kelnick. Well, Kelnick wasn't good, so we'll replace him
with Trammell.
With Trammell, who then gets hurt. And if that's not depth, I don't know what is. But if it all gets hurt, then you're like, well, there's not enough depth.
My seventh option is no good.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of like complaining about Mike Zunino being rushed years ago when I think we went through 7 catchers that year. Did that mean we rushed Zunino? Ideally he would have spent more time in the minors, but would that have changed anything? I don't think so.
Probably not. I don't think it would have changed anything. He would have still had the same player profile.
Yeah, because he's never improved beyond that.
Is it's like fine, right? If he's your catcher, he's hitting 7th or 8th, and he's sitting there mashing 30 home runs, but he's hitting 220.
Yeah,
whatever. He plays great defense, and he throws people out.
He's there at the bottom of the lineup,
and he gives you gravy for home runs. I mean, that's fine.
You can play Moneyball a little bit in your lineup and your catcher is the perfect guy to play Moneyball with. Who cares if he strikes out? If he walks, great, but you just want him to run into some home runs. And
Nobody's
play good
complaining
defense.
about Cal Raleigh right now.
Cowboy is the best. Love Cowboy. This is a quick aside here. Is Cal Raleigh going to be the best catcher in Mariners franchise history?
Ooh.
Or who is the best catcher in our franchise history? And then will Cal Raleigh be better than that? And I know it's really premature, but yeah.
Yeah, right now I'd have to say Dan Wilson's probably the best, right?
Dan Wilson, Jojima, Zunino, Dave Valley. Is he like the fourth best? Yeah, Dan Wilson for longevity. Who is the best? Yeah, it might be. I don't know. Is Zunino better than? Because
Dan Wilson with longevity, because he had the great defense. I mean, he was really good defensively.
Yeah,
By far he is even as good as Zunino was defensively a catcher. Dan Wilson, I think, was better than him.
That's high praise.
And so he was really good at receiving. I can't remember how many times he blocked a plate or took it. He was really good at defense.
And if you need to know how good, how important blocking the plate was, remember AJ Puck pitching the A's.
Yeah.
The game we should have walked, or we should have lost, and Puck couldn't get it over the plate, and their backup catcher was Betancourt, and he just
doesn't know how to.
And we won that game with like one hit or something. We won 2-1.
Yeah, I think we ended up with 2 hits, but
2 hits, yeah. And so that's how good, that's how important catcher defense is, just being able to block that ball. So Dan Wilson was amazing at it. Zunino's amazing at it. Cal Raleigh's pretty good too. So Dan Wilson's your guy for best catcher in Mariner history so far?
Yeah, I would go Dan Wilson, Zunino, Jojima at the moment. And
More so than Dave Valley.
Yeah.
Tom Lampkin.
And then you just run into the rows. I mean, he gets to put Tom Murphy in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Murphinator.
So I think Cal Raleigh has a chance to be one of the best catchers.
It's not a super high bar to clear,
but still, I mean, so you're telling me that if he was Dan Wilson with a little bit more power than Dan Wilson,
yeah.
I mean, okay, that's great. So, I mean, we were just talking about before we started. Cal Raleigh had an 0.63 average with a lot of plate appearances, right?
Yeah.
A good amount. Not like 5 or 10 or 40. He was like 60 to 100 plate appearances by an 0.63. He's almost at 200.
Yeah.
That means he's hitting like 3-something. Just to get his average up there, you got to do better than, to raise it.
Yeah,
after you've got 60 to 80 plate appearances. You don't just raise it by having one good week, right? I mean...
Yeah, I thought it was interesting last year, the folks that were questioning Cal Raleigh and whether he was ready or not. And it's like, well, his defense was fine. His defense, his game calling, that was all fine. It was a matter of could he hit enough, and he wasn't making enough contact. Started this year, didn't make enough contact, got sent down.
And it only got recalled because Murphy broke his shoulder.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he got sent down, and then, like, the next day, it was Murphy broke his shoulder, and
then Luis Torrens is just awful.
Yeah, but me and you both said Torrens.
Yeah.
He got hot for a couple weeks at the end of last year, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, he's the next answer.
Well, he can only do one thing, and that is either hit or catch, but I haven't seen him catch, really. He's still not good at catching, even this year. I don't know. He's... Yeah, Luis Torrens. Nothing special there. Moving on.
On a little side note here, we're talking about prospects. Did the Mariners make the right move by not recalling Kelnick when Trammell got hurt? What is your take on leaving Kelnick down and calling up Michael Wilson? Right? Is that?
Yeah. Marcus Wilson.
I have an opinion on it. I just want to know what yours is.
When Kelnick was sent down, so Kelnick's my boy. I'm a big Kelnick fan. I believe in his talent so much. If you can't see that the dude has the talent to be good, then you haven't been paying attention to other players. The guy has all the physical ability. It's a matter of putting it together, and he's going to get every opportunity to do it. And I think Kelnick will be an average regular at worst going forward because he can play defense, he can run, he's got pop. He'll find a spot. I liked when I heard that when they sent him down, they said, this is the last time you're going to get sent down because next time you come up, you're going to be up for good. And so to me, that said they have a plan. They're going to execute it. They're going to not rush him back regardless of what happens. We needed to keep him. Yeah, keeping him down is not a bad choice. It's a little disappointing that he's not back in the majors immediately, but they're saying that he's got things to fix. Now, I think he's going to be a middle or top of the order guy. I want to see him batting 1-2 with Julio and Kelnick at the top for a long, long time. But I'm fine with it. I mean, what if he came up and he floundered again? But what if he comes up and does well? It just, I don't know. Some guys are able to do it. Some guys aren't. Maybe it's just a flash in the pan thing. Like some guys do. They come up, they get hot for a couple weeks. I don't know. I don't really pay enough attention to the minor leagues, and I don't get eyes on the players or anything. So it's hard to say. So I have to kind of defer to the front office on their decision making there.
My take on it was, I'm glad they didn't do it. I'm glad that they did not rush to bring Kelnick back up. There was no need to. They didn't really. I mean, they would have had to play him every day. They didn't really have an everyday spot because they were rotating people anyways. So, and he was still striking out a bunch. His average is there, and he's hitting for some pop down there, but he was still struggling with the strikeout. So, that's what they told him that he needed to work on. He needed to work on the judging the strike zone. That's what he had always been before we got him. Mm-hmm. And that's the main reason we wanted him, is he was someone that controlled the strike zone. I like the fact that they didn't rush to call him back up. Totally fine with that. We've got other guys coming back up. So, he would have come up and been here till, AllStar break? Then people would have been healthy. What if he would have hit? Then what do? You're already kind of running into a problem whenever he gets healthy, right? With Lewis, and you went and got Santana, and, I mean, sure, Upton can go away, whatever, but...
I think that's a bridge you cross when you get to it, is, what happens when everyone's healthy and good is, that's the problem you want, I suppose. But when has that been a problem for us recently?
It hasn't been. I'll give you that one.
So... but I'm fine with what they did, and they were clear with Kelnick. No amount of whining is going to get you to the majors. No amount of going on Twitter and bitching about not being a major in the majors. I'm ready to help this team right now, and it's like, dude, shut up. Actually, that's something that's bothered me when Kelnick did it a couple years ago, and it would annoy the hell out of me again if he decided to do that. I think he may have learned his lesson a little. To just, shut up. But, yeah, I can't wait to see him back in the majors. I believe he'll be starting right fielder next year for your Seattle Mariners, Jared Kelnick.
I do believe that. I believe that he's going to, and he'll get a shot towards the end of this year, more than likely. But I agree I was fine with them not calling him right back up. I mean, he had been down there for month, 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, something like that.
So the urge to rush the urge to be tempted to rush him back was not necessary.
Yeah.
And even DePoto said he was on 7-10, and he's like, no, it didn't even cross our mind. We've got a plan with him. Yeah. We know what we're doing. Trust us.
Yeah, and I don't know.
And DePoto has never really steered us wrong. I mean,
well, some folks would argue that he has, I don't know, the track record of player development. We haven't is DePoto good at player development, or what should he get credit for? And they'll be like, but it's been 7 years, and so he doesn't have a long track record, a lot of show for it. But also, it seems to me that player development in baseball takes forever, because you draft a guy and then it takes a couple years for him to make the majors, and then it takes a couple years for him to establish themselves generally. But then, you hear folks, oh, well, does DePoto get, does he get credit for Julio? Well, Julio's generational talent. He would be great everywhere, so no. And I was like, well, then what do you give a guy credit for? Exactly. So I think DePoto...
Do they get credit for giving Edwin Arroyo a lot of money in the second round last year because he's come out in gangbusters as, a high school
I don't
prep
know.
bat.
It depends on whether he's generational talent or not. It's it's hard to. Some folks just refuse to give credit to anybody.
Hitting is really hard to develop. Look around baseball. Yeah. There's like a handful of guys that hit over 300.
This year is so weird because you have guys that are really struggling, and then there are guys that are hitting over 300 no problem. And I think,
look at Juan Soto. He's hitting 220.
Yeah, well, I think the dead ball or dead end ball, or however we want to describe it, it's actually rewarding guys who know how to kind of reduce their swing and take their base hits rather than going all out all the time and trying to hit home runs. And I'm going to go on another bit of a tangent here. This goes back to the 3 true outcomes stuff that we've been doing, that we've been talking about, and the defensive shifts and things. So what happens in a defensive shift is everyone moves over to the right side or left side, all the infielders and everything. And then you have your hitters who can't shorten up their swing and just go the other way. And folks will be like, oh, it's really hard to hit. And it's like, well, professional hitters, I'd expect that's what you could do it. Probably when they leave the entire side of the field open, if you just decided to shorten your swing and take a base hit, you could probably do it. But instead, they keep gearing up and wanting to hit their home runs. And so they just try to pull the ball every time. So if you get rid of the shift, well, all you're doing is incentivizing them to keep trying to hit home runs. Yes, there are going to be more singles to right field for those lefty power hitters because you've fixed you've banned the shift. But those are the consolation prize. You're still incentivizing them to just go all out and hit home runs and never even attempt to hit the ball to their opposite field. I think banning the shift, you're actually going to have the wrong effect that you've been looking for. And guys that can shorten their swings, take their base hits, Ty France, for example. Ty France could hit 30 home runs. He's probably not going to this year. He's going to hit something like, when he comes back, probably something more around 20, because he shortens up his swing and takes a base hit occasionally, rather than constantly going for home runs. And those home runs increases your strikeout rates, increase your walk rates. It doesn't really increase your walk rates. Sometimes those guys end up with that, but it's just boring baseball. Anyway, so looking at our outfield going for right now, right now, it's so hard to pin down our roster because it's in flux, and it's going to be in flux for the next few weeks as our guys come back. But we got Haniger coming back. He's on our rehab now.
Did he actually go out on the rehab?
Or he's going to be soon. I think he's running.
Soon. Yeah, he's... And I think the goal for him was end of July when it happened anyways. So yeah. I think he's right on target for that.
He's on pace, yeah. Kyle Lewis is down in Everett on his rehab for getting knocked in the head for his concussion. Kelnick is in AAA. Now, you can look at Kelnick's numbers. They're fine, but Kelnick is a guy that needed to learn how to just take a base hit. He has a swing. He has plenty of power, but that's a guy who needs to learn how to control a swing. And that's sort of what I was alluding to, where he got too pull happy. He's trying to hit a home run every time, and the 3 true outcomes actually wasn't working for him. So that's a guy that needed to learn how to just be able to hit the ball the other way, and that will help his career going forward. Let's see. Julio is Julio the best player in baseball?
He is up there. I don't know if he's not the best right now.
No.
But he is in the top 10.
All you people that said yes, I love you. Yeah, he is.
Okay, so if I want to be a homer, yes, Julio is the best player in the game.
How many O's does Julio have in his name?
A lot. I yelled a lot of Julio on the Mariner road trip.
I'm pretty sure I heard you on that on the broadcast.
I was actually disappointed because I record all the games on my DVR, and I was going to go back to the Oakland A's games.
Oh yeah,
and because Oakland A's is just there's nobody there, right? There's like 1,200 people in the whole stadium. It is that.
How many people can you truly fit into a honey bucket?
Probably about as many people that were
Yeah.
there. I mean, they don't even give you lids for their pop. No lids.
No lids.
No lids. No lids, no straws. They just give you this cup that's the same size as a Mariner souvenir cup. No lids. They fill it to the top and be like, here you go.
Okay.
And so, yeah, their stadium is just really weird and nobody goes to the games.
Bring your own lids.
And so, yeah, it was really interesting. But yeah, my DVR for the Mariners games, I guess I had it set to only record 5 and then delete.
Oh.
And so I didn't get to go back in here, I'm sure, because the last game in Oakland, we were right under the broadcasting booth, and we were loud. Me and my son were loud, and there was, like I said, there was like 12, maybe 2,000 people at the most.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just nobody.
Yeah, that place.
Oh, speaking of which, I have to give the A's ushers some shit here. The last game, it was the top of the 9th, and everybody just left, and me and my son wanted to move down 5 rows into the first section, and the usher said no.
In the 9th inning?
In the 9th inning. Top of the 9th inning. We just wanted to move up 5 rows. Not like we were moving a bunch of sections down. We were literally moving 5 rows down, and the guy's like, no. And I'm like, we were sitting right there. No, you can't sit here. It's the 9th inning. No. Wow.
Well, someone might show up for those seats.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well, apparently they've, the ushers at T-Mobile have relaxed themselves.
The people at T-Mobile don't check anything.
Yeah, this year, apparently, that's a new thing.
I'm quite fine with that. I mean...
we don't always sit in our seats when we go, but at the same time, we're not taking up everybody's seats, and so I don't know. I haven't seen people have problems at T-Mobile Park with someone stealing seats from someone else. I haven't really noticed it. Maybe it's a thing. Let me know in the comments. If you have problems with someone stealing your seats, that you really need ushers to make sure everyone's sitting in their assigned seats, then,
I guarantee you 70% of the people that go to baseball games don't sit in their exact seats.
No, people are up wandering around all the time.
Wandering around, they find seats, they sit.
I think I'm actually more of the weird one that I just tend to stay in my seat after I get there. I do get up and get food occasionally, but yeah, I tend to stay in my seat pretty good. Who else? Jesse Winker. Ever since we got Jesse Winker, I have loved his attitude, his personality in our outfield. He's a bro. I like him a lot. He's just a good dude.
Winker was a result of early bad luck, and then you think he got in his head.
Yeah.
He really, some of those balls that was hit in the beginning of the year, and he hit it right to the wall. And he's like, what do I got to do to hit it out of here?
Play in Cincinnati.
And the problem is he was getting a little bit of bad luck, or he'd hit it right at somebody, and it got in his head. And I think it was kind of almost like the Kelnick effect, right? He was struggling so bad that it was in his head.
Well, you can tell these guys play with a lot of emotion. Both Kelnick and Winker, they express themselves quite a bit.
And so, and basically, the time he turned around and hitting it is when we just guaranteed those RBers, right? We came to that 2-year deal. It was no big deal. We just guaranteed the RBers.
2 years, 15, something like that, right?
I never actually saw the total. I just knew that it was 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's 15.
Which is fine.
That's a great number for a guy who has, over his career, posted above average offensive numbers each year. Lefty bat, really, really good. He hasn't stayed on the field as much as I would have liked him to. Injuries, different things happening to him. But he's a stud hitter. AllStar last year.
And he's become a very good hitter.
Yeah,
we signed him to that deal, and then they went to, Oakland or something, and then you got to see his daughter there, and then he started hitting. And he's been hitting really good for, almost the last month, basically.
Yeah, he turned it around. He got that contract, and he turned it around. And it's almost as if we were talking about this on the phone before recording, but it's almost as if, getting the contract just lifted the weight off of his shoulders there.
Knew he was going to be in a place for at least 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, we traded for him in order to keep him for 2 years. Any talk before this about, okay, well, are we going to get rid of Winker? Are we trading him? That was silly talk and not worth it. We traded for Winker to be here for 2 years at least. It's good that we signed him to that. It's good that we got him at a reasonable price. Question, actually, sort of a rhetorical question for the audience out there to answer for themselves, perhaps answer in the comments. If you're one of those folks that want the Mariners to spend more money, just because,
willy-nilly,
would giving Winker a bigger contract have made you feel better, or are you happy that he only got a 2-year $15, so $8 million next year? Yeah. And if you're like, oh, those Mariners, those cheap bastards, are you like, okay, so should we have just given him like
24 or something?
Yeah, should we just arbitrarily pay him more money just cause?
Piss off the MLBPA, the owners, like,
yeah,
MLBPA is like, yeah, woo, got a big raise for a guy.
Yeah, so I'm just curious about that sort of thing. Should we just go around paying guys more money, or are you happy that you got Winker at a good price? I mean, it sort of goes to Haniger this offseason. He's a free agent this year. He's missed most of this season. I think he's going to get something like $10 million. Had he had a healthy season, he might have got closer to 18 at the very max, probably 15. But are you going to be happy if we can get him back for $10 million, $8 million, $15 million? We'd be like, oh, no, not 15, but 10. And it's like, well, are you playing that game of, well, I want it cheap because that's what we all want. We're consumers. And so, but then you're like, those cheap Mariner teams, it's like, well, if the team is cheap, then, I mean, are they just doing it efficiently, or are they actually pinching pennies? So, it's sort of a rhetorical question of like, how do you look at this sort of thing?
On a side note here, our 26th man on the roster just hit a home run.
Who's that?
Sam Haggerty just went yard.
Yo, Hammy Swags. I love Hammy Swags.
Just went yard to right field. So 1-0 Mariners here while we record this.
Yeah, screw off Padres. The Friars, we are, this weird 2 games down in San Diego to turn around and come back home.
Yeah, to have Wednesday off, which is weird.
Yeah, well, that's the road trip you want to follow the Mariners on. 2 games in San Diego, and then you just get to come back home. It's fine. San Diego. Can you really? I mean, couple days in San Diego can't be too bad.
No.
All right, so salary dump Suarez.
Yeah. At $12 million, all right.
11 and change, 11 and a quarter, I think.
Yeah. Big, you can't take on that salary, right?
Oh, no, that's way too much.
He's only got to be worth of what, like 1.5 WAR? I mean,
maybe we should pay him more money too, just because.
Good vibe Suarez.
Yeah, good times. Eugenio, Gino, he's awesome. I love him. Yeah, Kyle who?
That guy's got a cannon, dude. The only guy that I've ever seen with a bigger arm at third base is Matt Chapman.
Yeah, he's perfectly fine.
The guy's got a freaking cannon. That ball's coming over there. If you don't catch it the right way, your hand is going to be sore.
Yeah.
Because he's not throwing lollipops over there like Machado did yesterday that caused an error when Julio did it. He's throwing rockets.
Yeah. Our guys, I think that's a testament to our coaching staff a bit.
I mean, we have
keeping them
second best or the best fielding percentage in all baseball is .990.
I think it's second best. It might be best in the American League, but I think it was second best.
It's like .990. That's insane.
Yeah, well, we have a good defense. I know, defensive runs saved or something has us very average, and I think that might just be a couple of guys in the outfield. But our infield defense, I mean, you got Ty France, who he was good last year, good again this year. Our second base is a bit of a black hole. It's a lot of different guys. It's fine.
It's not great defensively, but it's not horrible.
Yeah. Crawford's fine. Former Gold Glover, but yeah, that's sort of iffy. He's fine enough. Seems like middle infield is the place to upgrade if you're going to upgrade this team somewhere, but we'll cross that bridge here in a minute. And yeah, Suarez is fantastic. Cal Raleigh, fantastic defensively. Julio is good enough in center. I suspect he'll get better. You add Kelnick into right field.
My question real quick.
So That's a good defensive team.
Watching Julio play,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, where's Raleigh going to fall all time defensively?
Yeah.
Where's Julio? Julio runs balls down with no issue. It reminds me a lot of Gutierrez. And he has that, it's almost like death to flying things, right? Nothing falls. Nothing falls when the ball is hit there. Mm-hmm. He runs things down, and I love how he X's it out, right? He's like, oh, you thought you had it? No, you ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, he is superior in center, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've watched a lot of Mariner games.
Fangraphs has him as just average defensively. I think Julio's a little better than average defensively. Is the thing that Julio does, though, teams will sacrifice some offense to get a little better center field defense. The thing about Julio, though, is that
you don't have to sacrifice anything.
Yeah, he's an amazing all-around player. The question, actually, here's sort of another question along the Cal Raleigh line. How good will Julio be in Mariners history playing center field? I mean, I guess Griffey is easily the top of the. You can't really put Cammy or Goody ahead of him, but does Julio beat Cammy, Goody, and then does he get to Griffey? Are we seeing that level generational talent on our team? Because we haven't had one of. We had one with Felix, but pitcher, so it's a little different than a hitter.
You haven't had one since A-Rod.
We haven't had a talent like this since A-Rod.
Which was early 90s.
And for us, we were, 10, 12. Actually, when did he come up? 94, so we were 13. Right? He came up 94. And, Griffey made his debut when we were 8 years old. So, as an adult, we can appreciate this stuff, or at least I can appreciate it more because I can see it. Whereas when I was a kid, especially back in the 80s and 90s, trying to watch baseball on TV, it was somewhat difficult. Now it's much easier. You have access to so much more. So are we seeing Julio be that guy for us? Are we seeing the next Griffey level talent? Are we seeing someone that can surpass Griffey?
I think that his early success puts him very much on track to be the faces of baseball for a long, long time to come. Like your Acuñas and your Vlads and stuff. Baseball needs to do a better job of branding players. They have done the worst job out of all sports of branding players, right?
I don't know. It seems like they're really pushing Vladdy and Soto and some of these guys, some of these younger players. You could have made that case. Actually, being that we're so in baseball, we know these guys. I'm more curious about how people outside of baseball, do they see these players as having the high profile, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilsons of the world? Is Juan Soto on that level? And I don't think it is. Or Byron Buxton.
I think that, at least in Seattle, even your casual to non-casual baseball fan knows Julio.
I'd hope so. And if they don't, they really should here pretty soon.
And so about 3 weeks ago, I think we had this conversation about, is Julio an all-star?
Yeah,
and
3 weeks ago it was a little different conversation.
Yeah, and he's just gone on this tear, and that's what everybody said is he's going to get comfortable, and then the power is going to come.
You asked me,
and the power has come. And I a couple weeks ago, I was like, I don't think he's going to be an all-star, but I think that he's going to be in the home run derby because they're going to want him in something.
And what was my response?
Your response is I don't want him in the home run derby. Vladdy's a slugger, and I don't want Julio swinging.
I didn't think Julio was a slugger.
Yeah.
And then he goes and hits dingers. All day long.
And, that home run yesterday to the third deck of the Steel Company, that was just amazing.
He put one in the upper deck at T-Mobile the other day, left center.
Left center, not even down the line. It was almost left center. I'm like, that is
That's a bomb.
That's...
And he's big enough, he's athletic enough, he's strong enough. Yeah, he's going to make enough quality contact. He's going to continue to hit really well. Does he get to 30-30 this year?
I do think he gets to 30-30 this year. The problem is if it was any other year and the Mariners made the playoffs, he'd probably be an MVP, right?
Yeah.
But then you got this guy named Aaron Judge. And so he's playing on the Yankees that are going to challenge the 0-1 Mariners for that record.
114 wins. That's my prediction right now. Write it down, folks. 114.
So if Aaron Judge stays healthy the whole year, Aaron Judge is going to win the MVP. Any other year, you'd be talking about the Ichiro thing where he wins Rookie of the Year and wins MVP because he's that good. He's just that good. And he's had, 300 plate appearances above A-ball? I mean...
yeah, if you don't count the WBC and stuff.
So, I mean, it's really amazing to see what he's done. I mean, he didn't even have to go back down. I mean, Trout went back down.
Yeah.
I mean, not many people come up straight and never go back down. It's
straight from AA.
Rare.
Yeah.
So everybody should just appreciate what we have. It's kind of like when the Seahawks had Russell Wilson, right? Mm-hmm. Appreciate it while you have it, because at some point you're not going to have it, and you're not going to be happy about it.
Well, sometimes you don't want it anymore either, especially at the price point. Russell Wilson wanted too much money. Bye.
Appreciate
have fun, Denver.
Appreciate Julio.
Oh yeah,
take in everything because he's the A-Rod, he's the Griffey, he's every bit of that.
Let's hope he sticks around longer than both of those guys did.
Sign him now. Any
contract, whatever, it doesn't matter.
I'm not saying he has to give the hometown discount like Acuna and Albies did. I have no problem paying him his worth. I just want him here. 21, sure.
There's another one. Are the Braves cheap because Acuna and Albies took cheap deals?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems to me that it allowed them to have resources to spend on other players to augment their team to make a better team.
Morton and...
Yeah, so, whatevs. And, not keep Freddie Freeman. How about that? Did you hear about that story? Freddie Freeman's agent?
Agent, yeah.
Oh, man. Casey Close, was that his name? And Casey Close did not want Freeman going to the Braves or something, or he thought the Dodgers were going to give a bigger deal, so he
essentially went to the Braves with like an offer, and he's like, you have 1 hour to respond.
Yeah.
And
it was agent malpractice that he pretty much guided Freddie Freeman to LA, which is, not, it was a second choice, but it's not cool what happened. And I mean, it's not like Freddie Freeman's really hurting. He's playing for the Dodgers instead of the Braves.
Yeah, the problem is that players like that, Freddie Freeman shouldn't leave Atlanta, right? Came up there, just like Julio should never leave the Mariners, right?
You can make that case for, A-Rod should have never left, or Griffey should have never left, or Russell Wilson should have never left. But sometimes circumstances are what they are. Ideally, you want a player to stick his whole career. An iconic player like that, sticking their whole career in one place. It's just so hard to do nowadays. But it is cool that Freddie wanted to stay with the Braves and that they were all trying to make it happen, but it got short-circuited by...
the agents is like, nah, we don't need you there. We want you in LA where we can brand you bigger. And
yeah, and it's like, it's not... when you're already making... Actually, I really appreciate that when you're already making... or you've made several $100 million playing baseball. Do you really need those extra few million? And now you're taking it from the rich billionaire owners and all that shit. Sure, but at the same time, to be where you want to be and be comfortable, is it worth those extra few $1 million? Is the wife really that pissed off that she can't get another diamond or more houses?
LA taxes,
or California taxes, compared to
Atlanta,
Georgia,
So
and
all the offers were essentially the same, right? They were all very close to. I mean, I was surprised that the Rays were in there. I mean, they were in there.
The Rays were?
Yeah, the Rays were offering.
Did not hear that.
Yeah, they were offering right around where the Rays were.
Offering all the lint in their couch cushions? Because where did they come up with money to be trying to pony up to get Freddie Freeman?
I have no idea, but yeah, the Rays were in it. I was kind of surprised about that one.
Though Freddie Freeman, yeah, I mean, so, like, there you go. Think about that. The Rays were in on they traded for Nelson Cruz the year before, a DH only, and gave up some good prospects. Joe Ryan, now pitching for number one starter over there on Minnesota. And then they were trying to sign a 30-year-old first baseman to huge dollars. What's going on, Rays? I thought you were all analytical and stuff, and you don't buy that a DH only or first baseman sluggers. No, actually, you do when it's a really good player that's likely to continue to be good for a while, or it's a cheap rental and you need a slugging bat in your lineup, and you're like, well, it's a lot harder to find a slugger that can play a position, so you may as well just get one to play DH. And looking at the Mariners, we have huge DH problems this year. You want to know what would be really nice is just having a guy that can play DH every day that isn't named Abraham Toro or Luis Torrens. Making the, as some folks affectionately call it, the DH hammock. The DH hammock, it can't be for crappy players. It's got to be for good players. And you have a good player like Nelson Cruz was back when he was with us, or Edgar Martinez, and you can place those guys in the middle of your lineup every day. You're going to be a lot better off. So instead, we have some of the worst hitters in baseball getting way too many plate appearances, and look, we struggle to score some runs. So starting pitching. Our starting pitching has been spectacular this year for the Mariners.
Better than anyone could have ever expected.
Yeah, Logan Gilbert is a legit one.
Sign him also.
Yeah, he's right at the top. I mean, Logan Gilbert, Robbie Ray, and George Kirby. Now, I'd like to put Kirby as, my 4, and then have another starting pitcher somewhere at the top to pair with Gilbert and Ray. Kirby could eventually get to the top of the rotation, but we'll see. I think he has the stuff to get there. Marco at the back end, Flexen in the middle. So Flexen, he's going to get his option. He has currently a $4 million team option, and that will vest into an $8 million player option after he gets to 300 accumulated innings between last year and this year. So he's like 40 innings away, 50 innings away. Is Chris Flexen going to take, or is he going to exercise his $8 million player option, or do you think he goes to free agency? And
if I'm his agent, I'm telling him to go to free agency because he can get more guaranteed years. The problem he's going to run into is it's $8 million, right? This first year, and then he goes back to arbitration, right? So then it's 8 and then 12, And it's do you want to play $12 million for Chris Flexen?
Yeah, well, he might just be a free agent, a bit of a journeyman every year.
So if I'm his agent, I'm going out trying to get a 3 or 4 year deal. He'll be 27 next year. He can easily get a 4-year deal.
3 years, 30, 35, something like that.
Yeah, so he might get 448.
Yeah, I mean, he's a mid back end guy. Lives on bad contact. He's proving he can do it. He did it last year. He's really good. He could do it again. He's doing it again this year. Pitching as well as he has. He's a nice innings eater. But you don't need more than one of those guys, really. I mean, he's not. Is that the guy you want pitching in a big game in down the stretch? Or like last year when we relied on Tyler Anderson to pitch in that big season-defining games. It's that sort of guy. Is that the guy that you want pitching for you? Because Anderson, he did good one game, and then he blew up the next. And, it wasn't good enough. I'd rather have Logan Gilbert pitching those games. I'd rather have Robbie Ray pitching those games. I'd rather have undisclosed future Mariner pitcher who will fit at the top of the rotation. I want that guy pitching those games. I don't really want like Marco or Flexen pitching them. And are those guys in your playoff rotation? Probably not. And so to me, that's how you build a team. Is like, okay, if I were in a playoff series, I need 3 starting pitchers. Who are those 3 guys? And I build that. And so we already have Gilbert, Ray, Kirby might graduate to that. We have some other arms in the minors, Hancock, Matt Brash, Stout. I don't know whether like a Levi Stout will get there or not, but yeah, you're always trade away the chaff, keep the premium stuff, and you need the bottom stuff, but you develop 4 and 5 starters. You don't really pay for those guys.
If I'm the Mariners, I'm hoping that he picks up that option.
The $8 million.
The $8 million option. I don't think he will.
Will you trade him then? Or what's your plan for next season then? If he picks up that option, then my jumping ahead here a bit.
Yeah, we're jumping ahead. But my plan is if he picks it up, I'm fine with it. I'm sitting here looking at the free agent market for pitchers, and it's not great. I mean, if you want to buy into like Martin Perez,
no,
Joe Musgrove. Noah Syndergaard.
He can't strike any guy out.
I mean, Clevenger, who is coming back off Tommy John.
We just hit a home run. I mean, he gave up a home run to Hammy Swags.
So I mean, it's just not a great market. So we're still a little bit of ways away from having another pitcher come through the minors. So unless you're trading for somebody, which I think they should do anyways, they need to get another arm because you're going to run into innings issues with George Kirby, right? I mean, you can fudge it a little bit here around the AllStar break, sit there and have him pitch the 5th game before the AllStar break and then the 5th game after the AllStar break. Mm-hmm. And so, you can even option him down because you've already burned the option anyways. So, and get a different pitcher or whatever and let him throw down in the minors or whatever, do sim games or whatever. But you're still going to need to get another pitcher. And you don't have a lot of options even. I mean, Levi Stout, Ty Dollard, is that what it is?
Tyler Dollard.
Is doing really good.
Or Taylor?
I think it's Taylor. Is doing really good at Double-A. And some thought is that maybe he comes up and, either piggybacks with Kirby or takes some starts from Kirby.
That's what I want Brash to do. I want Brash to be a middle reliever. Chris Davinsky type from a few years ago with the Astros, where he'd come in, pitch the middle innings, and just dominate.
That I got a little confused by Dipoto. So they sent Brash down, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what we want you to do. A, B, C, right?
Yeah.
We need you to get relief work. We think you can help us this year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he went down there, and at first he struggled, right? Because he's not used to being a reliever,
I
right?
guess.
So, but then he's all of a sudden become dominant. Granted, it's AAA, but he's done everything. He's striking people out at a crazy high rate, and not allowing runs.
Yeah.
And then, so he'd been doing it for like a couple weeks, and then Poto comes on there, and he's like, well, we like what he's doing, but we don't really, at the moment, we don't have a spot for him. You've got Tommy Malone in the bullpen. Tommy Malone has no business being on any major league ball club.
Well, here's the thing. You keep sometimes you keep some chaff around so that you don't have to spend service time on a guy like Brash, who maybe not get that much playing time and stuff. I don't have a problem keeping guys down because if you call it Brash, well, then Malone is DFA'd. Maybe he goes somewhere else. So now you also don't have depth anymore. Where, if something were to, let's say Malone gets hurt, well, then you just go to the next guy. It's not, I don't know, sometimes it sounds counterintuitive, but it's not always about having the best guy up, which I get, it sounds so stupid. But I think there's other factors in play for that sort of thing. But yeah, Brash should be in the majors. He's probably one of our best relievers. And I'd love to see him as a long reliever, piggyback type guy. Comes in and cleans up some messes when it goes off the rails early. We don't have Kikuchi anymore, so don't have to worry about that too much. How's that working out for you, Toronto? Kikuchi was good for a while, and then he was not so good. So I guess the position group, if I were to ask this question and answer it from your answer that you just gave me, what position group are you going to target at this trade deadline? I would imagine you're talking pitchers.
Yeah, I guess if you wanted to upgrade second base, but I don't know that there's anybody out there that you're going to go and it's going to be a massive improvement. I also don't know that you necessarily have the ammo to make a big move. After you've graduated, unless you're trading Kelnick, right? Unless you're trading Kelnick for something big, you don't have the ammo to do anything, because after that, you're talking about a lot of your prospect lists are all like high schoolers you've just drafted.
Yeah.
Harry Ford and Arroyo and some other minor league arms and Dominican arms or bats. So you graduated. You got, I guess, Noelvi Marte, right? Is your now number one prospect.
Trade him before he gets fat.
But after that, you ain't got nothing. It's still a couple years away. So, I guess if you can trade Marte to get that second baseman that's really going to make a difference, then you do it.
I don't know who that second baseman is, because I was looking around the league the other day, and
there's not a lot of second basemen. No,
like Andres Gimenez, the guy that he's
on
Guardians?
my fantasy baseball team. I like him.
Hopefully not your football team.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gimenez is that the second baseman?
Yeah.
I get him and Rosario mixed up. Yeah, I had said
he came
years
over
ago,
in the
Lindor
trade.
and we're kind of panning that deal. And turns out that maybe the Guardians got, 2 half-decent players out of it. But that also shows you just how weak second base is around the league, that there's just so few of them. They all play shortstop now, I think, is what has really happened, is that anyone who would otherwise have played second base in the past is now just a shortstop, because every team has a good shortstop. Though, should all those guys be playing shortstop is another story, because,
Here's
Story and Bogarts and...
Question for you. Would you trade, like, a Noelvi Marte? Would you rather trade him for, if there was a second baseman, hypothetically, right, that's out there and available, would you rather do that, or would you rather go get, like, Castillo, or what's the other Reds pitcher that I can never remember his name?
Tyler Mahle?
Yeah.
Yes. No, I don't know. It's kind of hard, because, like, what is Noelvi now? Because he was hyped up, but then he came in out of shape. And so if he isn't, it depends on how much you believe in Noelvi. I don't mind keeping Noelvi if he's going to be good. But, I think that's just the obvious answer for everybody. Like, well, if he's going to be good, then I wouldn't trade him. Like, well, duh. So, yeah, I can't answer that question. I'm not as hyped about Luis Castillo and Tyler Mahle as some of these other folks are. Neither of those guys seem like the true top-end guy that I really would be willing to pay the freight for. Because these guys, for Luis Castillo, you're going to trade a pretty nice prospect for 1.5 years of a guy, and then you're going to have to pay him to stay. And that just, And as you're kind of going through, I'm not sure that we have the prospect ammunition to make that happen. The money's not the problem. So can we just go to free agency? There's not a ton available in free agency, but I think and we kind of need a guy now. We needed a guy this offseason. Jerry said he was trying to pull something off, then this offseason didn't happen. So yeah, I don't know. I honestly can't answer that question very easily. It would take a lot of soul searching to trade Noelve for a rental, a year and a half or something. If we're not in the playoffs now, though we should be next year. If we are not next year, it's a major disappointment, and Jerry needs to find a new set of employment.
Yeah,
So,
I do believe. While the Service and Dipoto are not on the hot seat,
not now.
They will be next year if they're not contending.
I like Scott Gervais too, so I don't think he should be on the hot seat. But he and Jerry are a package deal. So, though I also don't think Jerry should be on the hot seat. But if he doesn't come through next year, it's like, okay, dude, you got to make something happen. So, yeah, that's where. And that's who's your Mariner All-Stars? Or
I actually believe they're going to get 3 All-Stars, which seems kind of odd.
That's ambitious
for a team that is.
So Adam Frazier,
yes, definitely Adam Frazier for sure. How'd you read my mind like that, bro?
We've been friends a long time.
No, Gilbert is going to be an All-Star. He's going for win number 10 today. He's pitched like an all-star all year.
Yeah.
He's going to be an all-star. If MLB can get anything right, which I'm not sure if they can get anything right after that brawl in LA where...
we should touch on that real quick before we...
But I do believe that they get 3 because Julio, they've got to brand him as an all-star. He's the future of baseball, one of the futures.
They should just induct him into the Hall of Fame right now.
And Ty France has been one of the 10 best players in baseball when he was healthy.
I love me some Ty France.
So I know it seems weird to get 3 All-Stars from a team that is currently under 500, but I think they're going to get 3.
Currently under 500. It's
they've got 11 games left, counting today, so they, in theory, could be over 500 by the time everything breaks down. Although it does get a little fuzzy here after you play San Diego, then you got Toronto for 4, and then you play Houston and Texas, and then you come out of the break playing Houston and Texas. So it's gonna get a little hairy here over the next. This is actually probably this 12-game stretch or so right here, 11-game stretch before the thing is really what your deadline's going to be.
Yeah.
Do you continue? Are you this team that's gone 11-3?
Yeah.
Or are you? And you're about to get your pieces back. I mean, you didn't miss Frazier or you didn't miss Crawford that much when he did his 4-game suspension. You probably won't miss Winker as much. Now, if Julio was gone for 6 games, that's a different story.
That's a big difference.
That's a big difference. The fact that he only got 1 game, and actually no one's even sure why he got 1 game. They said they suspended him originally because they thought he threw a punch, but no one can actually show me where he threw a punch.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the type, but so they can't show it on the video, but the umpires say it, so it's sort of a you got to back the umpire. You can't just go, well, the umpire got it wrong. No, the baseball is going to side with their umpire. So they said it. Players can say whatever. Do I believe Julio threw a punch? No, not at all. But they also can't just say it was a mistake or bad because,
Well, yeah, and that's
you
why...
You got to support the police.
That's why they...
kind of how it goes.
Only went down to 1 instead of like, oh, here, we're actually not going to suspend you. Because then that would make the umpires look bad.
Yeah,
right.
You can't
piss off the umpires.
You can't throw the umpires under the bus. You can't throw it. That's why they're loath to throw police under the bus so much, is because they are the folks that have to make the calls. So Yeah, I think he just got the one game because that's just they said it, so okay, they have to support it, even though there's no video evidence. There's eyewitness testimony, which I guess counts in this case. So whatever. Yeah, Julio, he's the man. He's got. I want to see in the stands one day. I want to see folks show up with shirts with a lot of O's for do the Julio thing like they did the Raul thing. I want to see a commercial that Raul Ibanez coming back, and then Julio has more O's than Raul had U's, and Raul's just like, okay.
Well, I guess the whole Blue Jays series, they're doing the J-Rod T-shirt.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's like a ticket special.
It's like the Felix thing, but Kirby needs his own. I mean, Kirby will maybe get there, but have his own cheering section with a bunch of Kirbys, Nintendo Kirbys.
Yeah.
Logan Gilbert should have like a bunch of Walter White alter ego guys. Robbie Ray, just tight pants. Everyone gets tight pants that day.
You can't sit in that field unless you're wearing tight pants.
Yeah, or jean shorts.
Jorts.
We should all go dressed in jorts and support this team. This Winker. I don't know. Everyone goes with pizza.
That was a great story. I wish I was that pizza delivery guy.
Yeah, well, he made some money.
Made a lot of money.
Yeah, no one knows how much, but he donated like $5,000 or something, or 500. Was it 500? He donated some of the tips that we gave him. He donated it to Seattle Children's or something. So, it wasn't all of it, no doubt, but it was some of it. And yeah, good dude. And good people sending Winker a pizza because he defended our guys out there. He defended Julio. And we can all say it with me. You know what I'm going to say. It's about the Angels. On the count of three. Come on. 1, 2, 3.
Fuck the Angels.
Yeah.
Fuck Phil Nevin. Fuck that whole organization.
Phil Nevin should not have a job in baseball anymore.
Actually, the umpires, because the umpires are as much to blame for this whole brawl as Phil Nevin is. The fact that he pulled his starter to put an opener in a couple hours before day before, a couple hours before the game, because they were upset because Eric Swanson, who does struggle with control, he's not the most controllable. Eric Swanson has been good this year. Right, I'm not gonna say he hasn't, but he struggles with control, and the fact that this was just so after they threw at Julio, right? Mm-hmm. That should have been warnings. If they put warnings out the thing,
I think there were warnings immediately after they threw at Julio, but the issue to me was that when Winker was hit, they didn't immediately throw out the pitcher. And that's by design, as part of the negotiation or something with MLBPA, that the umpires have to get together and have a little conference or some crap. And that means delayed gratification. And so if the pitcher had been immediately tossed and Phil Nevin had been immediately tossed, I think it would have all just kind of like, okay, whatever. It would have diffused the situation. But instead, it wasn't. People got upset about it, and then the Angels bench started chirping because of their perceived slight the day before.
Because we want to throw at Mike Trout when we're trying to win the game. Well, come on, you guys. We're not trying to lose the game here.
The logic didn't make any sense. Also, we're talking about players. The other day, Bryce Harper got hit on the thumb or on the hand and broke his hand on a pitch up and in by Blake Snell, a very good starting pitcher for the San Diego Padres. And Harper got upset. He yelled at Blake Snell at first. He's like, "God damn it, what are you doing?" And Snell's like, "My bad, bro, my bad." They've played together against each other since they were 10 years old or something like that. And Harper is like, It's not you, it's me. This is just my game. Watch the John Boy media breakdown of it on Twitter. Because John Boy's fantastic at the lip reading. But Harper was like, "No, it's not your fault, Blake. It's just my game." And yeah, guys get pitched up and in. It didn't even hit Trout. He ducked. Lots of players get pitched up and in. Get over it.
My biggest problem is how does their relief pitcher only get 3 games? That is a joke.
That is a joke.
There is no way he should get off with just 3 games.
I think Phil Nevin is taking a lot of the punishment for it, and am I shocked or pleased? Does Phil Nevin have a job next year in baseball? And what would your reactions be? Would I be pleased if he does not have a job in baseball next year? Yes. Will I be surprised if he doesn't have a job? I think I'd be more surprised if he does. But then also, I kind of want to be cynical and just be like, no, I won't be surprised if he has a job. I think he will.
I don't think he's going to have I think he might be a minor league manager somewhere. I'm
not even sure about that. They get a whole bunch of people as minor league managers.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're talking about there's 30 teams and they all got 4. There's 120 minor league managers. I mean, you know, but, I mean, so what they should have done is Nevin should have got 25.
Nevin should have been banned. Let's just be honest. Like, hey, Angels, try again.
The pitcher should have gotten 10 at the minimum. There's no way that he should have gotten half as much as what Winker got. I mean, he purposely threw at 2 different people, and you know, so
I guess it'd be like, in my defense, I didn't hit the first one. Like,
so I made sure I was going to drill Winker. I'm sorry, I missed Julio.
I missed Julio's head, but I got Winker in the ass. Yeah, I don't know.
So, fuck the Angels.
You fuck them.
I mean, they have Ohtani on the cheap, and they can't even win.
They got Ohtani and Trout, they got Trout on the cheap. They spent all the money on Rendon.
Speaking of Rendon, when I was down in Angel Stadium, and I was talking shit about the Angels, and we brought up, I'm like, yeah, how's that Rendon contract working out? And he's like, well, because he's injured. I'm like, yeah, but he wasn't injured all last year. I'm like, you might have one of the worst contracts ever. And he's like, worse? I'm like, well, I guess he can't be worse than Josh Hamilton. And then they're like, touche.
Burn.
So, screw the Angels. They can't ever get anything. You've got Ohtani and Trout, and you can't even win. Yeah.
So, in conclusion, one more time, fuck the Angels. All right, folks, that's it for us. We'll be back around the trade deadline, maybe a little bit after, and for the run to the playoffs, where the Mariners will see the playoffs for the first time in
We're not that far
century.
Out. We're only
2001.
We're only one team behind.
No, we're a couple teams.
Well, Cleveland is the one team ahead of us before the last playoff spot.
Yeah, I guess the White Sox have been really scuffling too. White Sox suck. Tony La Russa sucks.
We're not that far out, and we're going to get healthy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for some trade acquisitions to help bolster a team, well, just look for what's coming back off of the off the 4-1 now. Go Mariners! What just happened?
Nothing. Demo had a 2-run double, and then Haggerty knocked him in.
Demo and Hammy Swags.
They got all our runs.
Second base, black hole. What are you talking about? I don't know. Just let them play other positions. That's that's depth right there. Our depth is doing things. Oh my goodness. They just aren't. They're playing as actual starters right now. But this team is good. No doubt about it. I was like we said earlier, I was really down early on this team, but my take on this team is it is upward trajectory. Playoffs, here we come, and fuck the Angels. Lates.